Hey everyone, welcome to this edition, the 37th, I believe it should say there, 37th edition of the Animated Girls Profile Confidential. It's a special edition, if you will. So we will look not at one character, but we will look at a franchise. We will look at a franchise that is the Disney Princess line. That's right. The Disney Princess line has become one of the more popular toy lines, if not franchises, out there for young girls and adults of all ages. It has been. As a matter of fact, with the release of the 25th anniversary edition of Beauty and the Beast, Disney decided, along with other retailers like at my job, Walmart, Target, Best Buy, and so on, that they would finally release all the movies focusing on Disney princesses, including the live-action remake of Cinderella. They didn't include Maleficent, even though it deals with Sleeping Beauty. Mostly the live-action remake we got as a part of this is Cinderella. So basically, this is the lineup right now that's out on Blu-ray, DVD, and digital HD if you're interested in completing your Disney Princess collection as far as the Disney classics go. You have part of the new Walt Disney Signature Edition collection, Snow White and Beauty and the Beast. Those are the first two of the Walt Disney Signature Collection. You also have, as part of the Diamond Collection, you have Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, and Aladdin, as far as I know. Oh, and Little Mermaid. So those are the princess movies out right now. Now, there are other Disney princess movies out on Blu-ray as well, but they're not Diamond certified. Those being The Princess and the Frog, Tangled, Mulan, and Pocahontas, and Brave. Although they're all dubbed collector's editions. You can believe that. Yeah, there's your full princess lineup. Now, believe it or not, the Disney princess line actually goes beyond just the main characters I mentioned. They go beyond Snow White. They go beyond Cinderella. They go beyond Aurora of Sleeping Beauty. They go beyond Ariel of Little Mermaid. They go beyond Belle of Beauty and the Beast. They go beyond Jasmine of Aladdin. They go beyond Pocahontas of Pocahontas. They go beyond Mulan of Mulan. They go beyond Tiana of Princess and the Frog. They go beyond Anna and Elsa. I forgot to mention them. That's also part of the Disney Princess collection. Anna and Elsa of Frozen. They go beyond Mira of Brave. They actually have other members to the Disney Princess lineup, but they're very small members. Now you might say, well, Brian, then that means the Disney Princess collection is not totally complete. And you'd be right about that. It's not complete. I was just letting my dog out if you heard anything in the background. But you're right. It's not complete, in a sense. It's not really complete. It's not everything princess that's being released right now because of the 25th anniversary of Beauty and the Beast. It's not everything. As a matter of fact, Disney's princess line, or princess franchise, is a lot more expanded and a lot more diverse than we think. Now, when it was announced that Tiana, I think that's her name, was going to become the first African American princess, people were elated. The African American, the black people community were elated, which they have right to be, because it was long overdue, and they have a right to be happy about it. Like I said, it was long overdue, and they finally got it. It's the same way with the Chinese people when Mulan became a princess, even though technically some could argue she's not really a princess, But because I think of her role in her self-titled movie, well, practically she saved China itself. She was looked upon as royalty, so thus Disney decided, okay, let's make her a princess. Pocahontas could be argued because she is the daughter of a chief kind of being like a king, and the daughter being like a princess. And I think they even acknowledge that she's a princess in the movie. So Native Americans, Chinese Americans, African Americans, everybody had a right to celebrate. Everybody had a justified right to celebrate when it was announced that each of those three ladies that I mentioned were becoming Disney princesses. Because believe it or not, as crazy as it sounds, when it comes to the Disney princess franchise and lineup, this is a very, very big deal. And the reason I say it's a very, very big deal is because it's like you're getting inducted into the Hall of Fame of a Major League Baseball Association or the NFL. Something nobody ever thought you would accomplish because of who you are or what your ethic is. No one ever thought it would happen, but when it happens, it becomes newsworthy. Like I said, when Tiana became the first African American princess, the first black princess in Disney history, it was acknowledged because it was part of that barrier that's always been seemingly one-sided or always very choicey when it came to who they wanted to make princesses. So when it was announced that she was going to be one, everybody, anyone, not just African Americans and not just black people, African Americans, but everybody, whites, Chinese, Japanese, Latin Americans, Polynesians, every kind of ethnic you can think of, celebrated because this was a major milestone. It was. It's the same way that they celebrated when Mulan became a princess. The same way. When the Chinese people found that out, I guarantee you a lot of them were happy because it broke down that barrier. The same with the Native Americans. When Pocahontas became a Disney princess, it knocked down that barrier. Now, like I said, the Disney princess line is more diverse than we think. You see, I'm half Latin American, I'm half Latino, basically I'm half Mexican. And me and my sisters and any other Mexican American out there, whether you're full Mexican or you're half, the one thing we've always wanted Disney to do, now that they've kind of broken down the barriers by giving us the first black princess in Tiana, the first Chinese princess in Mulan, and the first Native American princess, and says, in Pocahontas, and even the first Scottish princess, if you will, with Mira. And I'm sure a lot of the Scottish people were happy about that too. And they were, believe me. Because it was, I'll get to that in a minute, but what I'm getting at is a lot of us, half Latinos, half Mexicans, full Mexicans, Mexican Americans, we've always wanted Disney to throw a little favor in our direction as well. We wanted them to give us an opportunity to shine and have a Latina princess, if you will, represent us in the Disney princess line. Now, if she was to be part of a major motion picture, that'd be great. That'd make news. Because every single race and ethnic would be nearly represented in the Disney princess line. But the only favor Disney has ever shown us, and it's okay if they want to do it this way, they want to take the slow baby steps towards it. The only favor they've ever shown us is through television, like with mostly Disney Junior's Sophia the First. Sophia the First was, in a sense, the first Latina princess, in a sense. Although not a lot of people look at Sophia the First as the true Latino princess or a true Disney princess because she's so young. Yes, you could say that they did some kind of coronation at Disney World and Disneyland to welcome her into the franchise. But when you look at all the Disney princesses, when they are shown in a lineup, you don't see Sophia. No, you don't. You know who you're seeing more of now? A character that they introduced through Sophia's show, Ilana of Avalon or whatever it is. And she's a Latin American princess or Latino princess. And she's getting shown more in the lineup with the traditional Disney princesses. She's standing alongside the likes of Elsa and Anna and Rapunzel and, well, I forgot to mention, Tangled, Rapunzel, you get the idea. I wanted to mention that earlier. She's also part of that princess line. But, she's standing alongside the likes of Elsa, Anna, Rapunzel, Pocahontas, Mulan, Mira, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, and Snow White, and Belle, and Ariel, and Jasmine. She's standing alongside with them in that lineup. Why? Because when people think princesses, no offense, they don't think young kids. They don't think young, I don't know what Sophia's age is supposed to be in the show. What, 10, 8, 10, 9 years old? I don't know. They look at someone like Ilana and they say, that's a Disney princess. And when it's announced that she is a princess, they accept her more as part of the franchise. Which again shows you, even with her recent introduction, and believe it or not, she's becoming a focal point because of Sophia the First show. How much of a focal point? At my job the other day, we had customers buying a play set of Sophia the First, and who was right up front and center? Ilana. It was called the Avalon set, featuring Princess Ilana, whatever her name is, or however you pronounce her name. But the thing is, she was front and center. And again, when folks look at her, they see a traditional Disney princess. They see someone that can be a true traditional part of the Disney princess lineup. They don't see a young kid. Now, true, she hasn't gone through the traditional, I guess you could say, coronation to say, hey, you are a princess, SS and everything, and you are now officially a Disney princess. True, she hasn't gone through that, but give it time and she will. Give it time and she will. And she's the kind of princess, apparently, from what I've seen, that if they're going to do a spin-off show on her, which looks like they've already done or will do, it's going to be very hands-on, very action-adventure-like. So we'll just have to see what they do from there. But again, the Disney princess lineup is so diverse and so expanded that it goes beyond what we traditionally know as the Disney princess lineup or franchise. Heck, even Minnie Mouse herself could be considered a Disney princess because of her role as one in the Mickey, Donald, and Goofy animated film, The Three Musketeers. In their adaptation of Three Musketeers, she was called Princess Minnie. So you could technically say that in a sense, Minnie is part of the Disney princess lineup as well. Yeah, imagine her standing alongside all the traditional Disney princesses because of that one role in their adaptation of Three Musketeers. The point I'm trying to get at here is the Disney princess lineup is not just one of the most popular brands and franchises for Disney, and for Disney, not just for little girls, but for all ages. But it also houses some of the most iconic characters in history, in animation history, if not history in general. Because true, you could read a traditional Cinderella story, the real traditional Cinderella story, to a kid, and they might get a kick out of it and might be grossed out because of what really happens in the real story. You can read them the traditional Aladdin story of 1001 Arabian Nights, or 101 Arabian Nights, or whatever. You can tell them about the true story about Pocahontas. You could tell them the real stories of Mulan. You could tell them how the real story, the real fable of the Princess and the Frog came about. You could tell them what really happens to Ariel's character in the real Hans Christian Andersen's Little Mermaid. You could do all that. You could do all that, and maybe they enjoy it. Maybe young kids would enjoy it. Maybe they'd be fascinated. Maybe they might get confused. But then again, you can also stick with the tradition, what Disney has given you. Because one thing that Disney has come under fire about sometimes, but it's understandable. See, a lot of people, a majority of the populace, if you will, accept Disney's versions of a lot of these fairy tales in which these princesses come from. They do. They accept it and the kids accept it as the real, true version. But Disney, of course, has come under fire with the princess because of this. Disney has come under fire because, they don't, because of the fact that they leave out certain elements that may not be as graphic verbally as they would be on screen. And that might be true. That might be true. They may not be, graphically verbal if, like the rest, like some parts are in certain stories. But still, Disney has come under fire for the fact that some of the stories that they do featuring the iconic Disney princesses are either fabricated or complete false lies. They do. I mean, Pocahontas, I'll give you an example, is one of the best examples. When Pocahontas came out, everybody was looking forward to it because it was Disney's first real attempt at telling a real life event. Now, true, Pocahontas did very well at the box office, but not as well as Disney would hope. The reason being is because even though it was Disney's first attempt at telling a real life event about a real life character, and they would attempt this again later on with Mulan, was because basically in the eyes of a lot of people, they fabricated a lot of what was going on. They basically exaggerated certain things. Like, from what I understand, Pocahontas was a lot younger than John Smith. But here they made it to where they can be love interests. They can be boyfriend, girlfriend. They can fall in love with each other, thus making them the same age. So there was that and a few other things that made them upset. Now, I can understand, where a lot of that fire, Disney coming under fire for that would be justified. Because if you're going to tell the story of Pocahontas, you need to be true to the actual character. You can't just, age them up because you want to sell dolls and stuff like that. I'm not saying I didn't buy a Pocahontas doll for my mom. I did it, and it's the Hasbro version that's more accurate. But anyway, besides the point, Disney had come under fire because of that. They also came under fire a little bit because of Mulan. Now, we don't know much about the legend of Mulan and what could be taken from Chinese folklore, but we do know that Mulan, in some sense, was a real person. Now, we don't know how she saved China or what her role was in saving China, I should say. But all we know is that not as much as Pocahontas, Mulan, in a sense, also came under fire because some did feel it was a fabrication, if not an exaggeration, of the Mulan folklore. Now, again, like I said, the reason, in my opinion, it didn't come under fire as much as Pocahontas is because we don't know exactly how Mulan saved China or how it came about and all that. We don't know. We really don't know. So, just letting my dog in. Sorry about that. But again, we really don't know. And so because of that, Disney didn't come under fire as much with Mulan as they did with Pocahontas. Now nowadays Disney nowadays Disney has come under fire somewhat because of the fact that what I'm trying to say is Disney has indeed come under fire at times as well. Even with the selling of the toys and the franchises and stuff like that. Heck, I haven't listened to it yet, but according to a clip from the Animation Podcast by Animat, they may be coming under fire for the next animated feature, Moana, who's going to basically become the next Disney princess right there. It's going to be the first Polynesian princess. The first Polynesian Samoan princess, if you will. So that's cool. That's great and everything, but they're starting to come under fire because there's a costume, I guess, that came out for Halloween that's looked at as racist. I haven't listened to the podcast, but apparently they're coming under fire for that now. The point is, the Disney princess line, when you look at it with when you look at it, without all the exceptions and all the scrutiny and sometimes controversy that it has brought, will bring, and still has around it, there's no denying that what Disney has done with these characters is they made them iconic. They made them relatable for not just young girls and adult, not just for young girls, adolescent, teen, female teens, and young adult women, if not adult women, period. They not just have made them a symbol of strength for the female, for the women, for these. Not only have they made them a symbol, in a sense, for women, for this women's revolution, for women in media and how strong and diverse they can be, but they've given them identities that, like I mentioned earlier, you can talk about and read the real life versions of all the fairy tales and folklores and stories that they're based on to kids, and they may get a kick out of them, but they will not identify with them as they do with the Disney versions. Disney basically gave Snow White, Cinderella, Aurora, Ariel, Belle, Jasmine, Pocahontas, Mulan, Tiana, Elsa, Anna, Mira, and even those on the side, even those that are part of the lineup but not as prominent, like, I hate to say it, Sophia, and even Elon, and even the newcomer Elon, or Elion, and most possibly, as well as Rapunzel of Tangled, I forgot about her, sorry about that, as well as the newcomer Mohana in the next month or two. No, what Disney has done is they've given them identity. They've given them a personality that goes beyond what you read in the traditional folklores and fairy tales. They've made them to a point that when someone asks you, when someone, let's say, asks you about Rapunzel, the first thing that will come, not just to a child's mind, but to an adult's mind, the first thing that will come to them now when they think about Rapunzel is Rapunzel from Tangled. Not Rapunzel from the traditional folklores or traditional fairy tale. It's Rapunzel of Disney. The same with Arabian Nights. If they said, do you know who the princess is, what the princess's name, or who the princess was, the love interest was in Arabian Nights, and the first thing that will come to their mind will be Jasmine. That's a fact. Heck, nowadays with Frozen, because of Frozen, when they say if they were to ask you, hey, who do you first think of about, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when someone tells you about the Snow Queen story? And the first thing that will come to people's mind is not the traditional traditional Snow Queen story. No. The first thing that will come to the mind if somebody asks them what their thoughts are about the Snow Queen story is Elsa, is Anna, well, mostly Elsa of Frozen. They don't think of, oh, it's the Snow Queen. No. They think the first thing that will come to their mind is Elsa. Yeah. When somebody asks them about the history of who they know, let's say somebody was a teacher, for example, even though students would know they would have to answer correctly, if a teacher was to ask them, who do you think in Pocahontas, or something like, how do I phrase this? Okay, if a teacher was to come up to a student and ask him, what's the first thing that comes to their mind when they hear the name Pocahontas? Let's say they're learning about Native American history, and Pocahontas is part of that. If a teacher came up to a student or asked the class, what was the first thing that comes to mind when they think of Pocahontas, when they think of the name Pocahontas or the person Pocahontas, do you think traditionally that class or that student's going to think about the real life Pocahontas that was younger than John Smith and all that? No. The first thing that's going to come to their mind is the Pocahontas by Disney. It's going to be Disney's Pocahontas. And true, a teacher would have to correct them and probably say even before they answered that, oh, and what I'm trying to say is I guarantee you a teacher would probably interrupt them and say, oh, by the way, Disney's Pocahontas does not count. So I could see a teacher doing that, but yeah, that would be the first thing that would come to a student or entire class's mind if they were asked, what are their thoughts on, what is the first thing that comes to mind when they hear the name or hear about the person Pocahontas? Guarantee you Disney's Pocahontas is the first thing that comes to their mind. Same way is if they were to learn about Chinese history. If a teacher was to ask them, what's the first thing that comes to mind when they hear about the name or hear of the person Mulan? True, a teacher might interrupt them at first and say, oh, by the way, Disney's Mulan does not count. That would be actually the first thing that would come to a student or a class's mind, is Disney's Mulan. The point is, the point I'm trying to make here is, with these examples, is it shows you the impact. It shows you the impact that Disney's princess lineup has had. I mean, it's because of Aladdin that Jasmine herself became a huge, huge icon. She did. She became a huge, huge icon for Disney. And it was because of Aladdin, and especially the animated series, that showed princesses can be more than just damsels in distress. They can take care of themselves. They can. They can stand up for themselves. And you can argue Beauty and the Beast did that with Belle. And they did. It showed you could be pretty and everything. You can be gorgeous, the most beautiful girl in the world. But you don't have to be what people want you to be. You could be whatever you want to be. You could, if you want to stick your nose in a book all day or have eccentric taste that people might find weird, then so be it. So be it. Ariel's even shown that she could stand up for herself, though I will argue, as much as I like Ariel, as much as I do, she was a bit of a damsel, and who was the one that saved her and her kingdom, or helped her save, or mostly did all the saving? It was Eric. Eric's the one that came to her aid. And yeah, she's the one that was able to bring him back to the shore to keep him alive, because basically after he killed Ursa with the freaking ship, stabbed her, if you will, she was the one that saved him. So yeah, she has proven in a sense that princesses can be more than what they are. I mean, heck, she proved that throughout the film. She proved she could be rebellious, defiant, but in a sense, towards the end, she did prove to be a bit of a damsel. And that was the one thing Disney, thankfully, has gotten away from. A lot of people might say, well, Aura of Sleeping Beauty was a damsel throughout, right? Yes, but Aurora, I should say, kind of started that trend of being a little bit rebellious. She kind of started that trend because she would she'd want to go off, do her own things, but because of her history, because of what Maleficent had done, she couldn't go too far. The point is, Disney, even back in the 50s, had proven that the Disney princesses can be more than what you have. Heck, Cinderella proved that as well. I mean, Cinderella, in the original Disney adaptation, was very kind, very sweet. She may have not liked being bossed around and all that and mistreated, but she was kind and affectionate. She was nice. And she was rewarded for that she was rewarded for that kindness, for that love. When they did Cinderella 3, which I would actually consider the real Cinderella 2, I don't count the Cinderella 2 that was mostly just little animated shorts that they were trying to use as a pilot for a series. But when I look at Cinderella 3, I look at a huge evolution. Because when you get towards the climax of the movie, she actually shows she's very capable of taking care of herself. I mean, heck, she basically disposes of the cat Lucifer and calls him a bad kitty. And it's like, damn, where did this Cinderella come from? You know, it's like, where did they come up with this? And it shows you that Disney, throughout the decades and all that, has evolved to the point that they want to show that their Disney princesses are just as capable as the princess, as the love interest. I mean, heck, it's because of Cinderella, one of the evil stepsisters turned good. The point I'm making at is the Disney princesses, the way Disney has represented the Disney princess line shows you shows you that, how do I put it? It shows you that times have changed. They have changed. Princesses are just as equal as the princes. They could take care of themselves. They can go on adventures. They could save kingdoms. They could be influences. They can be inspirations. That's what they've done with this. That's why when I mentioned earlier, when people think of the names Pocahontas and Mulan and Pocahontas and Mulan, and Rapunzel, they don't think of the characters from the original fairy tales, no, or folklores or legends. No, they think of the Disney versions. The same with Cinderella. They don't think of the they don't think the Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella. No, they think Disney. That's what they do. When they think The Little Mermaid, they don't think Hans Christian Andersen. They think Disney and Ariel. When they think of the Snow Queen, they don't think of the traditional Hans Christian Andersen Snow Queen. They think Frozen. They think Elsa. They think Anna. And that tradition is going to keep going. Moana is the next Disney princess, the first Polynesian princess. We're already in the steps. We're already in the first few steps of getting a Latin American princess or a Latina princess. We're in the first few steps with that, thanks to, as much as I hate to say it, Sophia, and now mostly Ilana or Elion as well. So that's all I can say about the impact the Disney's princess line has made. Hope you guys enjoyed listening. Take your time with us if you want to. But that's all I have to say. If you guys got any thoughts on the Disney princess line and how much of an impact you think they've made and how much more you think they're going to be heading towards, let me know down below. I mean, again, if you're a Mexican American, we're a few steps away from the announcement down the line of a Latina princess being on the big screen. It might be Elion. It might be Elion, for all we know. It could be her. But the thing is, we're taking the first few steps towards that. And again, it shows you not just how iconic the Disney princesses that you associate with that franchise are, but it shows you how expanded they are, because you have Disney princesses with Sophia and Elion and Minnie Mouse of all characters because of Three Musketeers. So it shows you how expanded, how diverse, and how iconic and how much of an impact this franchise has made and these characters have made. So that's all I'm going to say on this 37th edition of the Animated Girls Profile Confidential. And believe it or not, it's hard to believe that we're getting close to a year since I've started this. So thank you all for watching it and giving your thoughts and insights. Let me know what you think down below about the Disney Princess line. What do you think? What kind of impact do you think they've had and will have? And who do you think will be next besides Moana, Elion? Who do you think will be next? What fairy tale character, folk tale character, who do you think will be next on that lineup to join the princess line?